Hello, everyone. We are live. This is Cherie Ariano with the Ascension Sessions, and we are live on YouTube and Facebook, streaming live out into the cosmos. Thank you so much for being here. I've got a really special guest for you all tonight. I'm so excited to share more about Solaris BlueRaven, which I will get to in just a moment. But really quickly, I wanted to just say welcome. If you're new to this show, please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you can be notified when we go live for future shows. And this month is my birthday month. And we're trying to reach 1,000 followers. So please subscribe if you haven't already. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you guys are watching on Facebook, please hop on over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button and the bell. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Now we can get all of that stuff out of the way. And also wanted to say this is live, so you guys are welcome to put comments in the live chat, and Solaris and I will see your questions. So welcome to the show, Solaris BlueRaven. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me, Cherie. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, it's your first time on the show, and I'm so excited to have you because we've been talking about it for a long time.
Yes, we are.
So thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited about all of the wisdom and knowledge that you're going to share with us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. So everyone, I just want to share a little bit more about Solaris with you and read her bio so you guys can get to know her a little bit better if you're not familiar with Solaris already. So Solaris BlueRaven is a published author, producer, writer, editor, and public speaker with a professional background in covert technology, surveillance, investigative research, healing modalities, and technology. She is known for her experience as a test pilot for synthetic telepathy, Black projects of which she discloses in her book series, Eye of the Remote, Black Operations and in Area Beyond 52. She is a professional psychic, clairvoyant, remote viewer, and systems buster for MK Ultra-related programs, Black technologies, and artificial intelligence connected to covert projects. Ms. BlueRaven is also a certified second-degree Black belt and has an extensive background in advanced sciences and mystical alchemy. She is an assessment specialist in the area of psychological operations and aerial anomalies. Ms. BlueRaven is the host of Hyperspace. She hosts a radio show called Hyperspace on the KCOR Digital Radio Network each Friday night at 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. And she's also the host of Raven Star's Witching Hour on Saturdays at midnight. Welcome again to the show, Solaris.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So when you tell people you're a second-degree Black belt, do they feel really intimidated?
I don't usually advertise it. I don't advertise it. It is on my bio, but it's not something I walk around and brag about. But I do. I think people get that idea. They kind of get that. When you're trained.
I mean, are you still training? Like, do you still keep up your training in those areas?
I train as best I can. Yeah. I'm getting older, but I still train. Still have it. The muscle memory is always there, so you don't lose that per se. My specialty is more about weapons these days, but yeah, still have the official martial artist background, second-degree Black belt.
That's awesome. Well, that's a really amazing skill to have, especially today in this crazy world that we're living in, and especially as a woman, you're completely self-sufficient and you can protect yourself. So
absolutely. I encourage everybody to take a class of self-defense.
Yeah. It's something I've always wanted to do. So
you should take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never see you. I'll teach you.
Awesome. So, there's many different areas that you can cover, as a radio talk show host, and you've been interviewed many times and you're an author of many books. And there's so many topics we can cover, but I would love to talk with you tonight about starseeds, about, our multidimensional cosmic selves, about ascension, and also about where humanity is headed and what we're going through right now on this timeline. And then I'd like to also get into timelines and how they've been manipulated or are being manipulated.
Okay. Sounds good.
So maybe, does that sound good?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So maybe we can just start with something easy like starseeds.
Okay, we'll go. That's easy. Well, starseeds, you want to know a definition, or can you expand?
Yeah, I want to know how you in particular would define a starseed.
Okay. Well, starseeds are usually connected to what we call the cosmic template, insofar as they've had more lifetimes off planet than here. Generally speaking, they do connect and carry the DNA code, which connects to their celestial heritage insofar as cosmic heritage. So people who enter onto the timeline or incarnate here usually have a connection at a very cosmic scale with different star systems and galactic neighborhoods. They bring that database with them when they enter onto the timeline. And as they show up here on this world, they tend to shine differently than the regular people here. Not that other people aren't significant, but the starseeds really shine, and they have specific skills and abilities. And they usually branch off into extraterrestrial intelligence, which means they start to interface with off-world species as contactees and start to grow and evolve with these skills and have a high aptitude for a high evolutionary level of consciousness. They tend to want to contribute more, bring light onto this world. They are very specific in their own sequencing and their DNA signatures. And that's how they show up here in this illusion of a world I call Earth.
And did you say, or I'm not sure if you said it tonight, but I think I read in your book that you estimate about 3% of the Earth's population are starseeds or
Correct.
star beings?
Yes, that's what I estimate. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you consider star beings and star seeds the same thing? Are those terms interchangeable?
I think they're interchangeable to some degree. And I think it's interesting that most people think that everybody and their mother is one of the, that part of a true celestial design work. It's truly not the case. And there is about 3%, in my opinion, that's about 3% of the population, which is not that many. You do have walk-ins, you do have contactees and different types of beings who are multifaceted. But there's definitely, in my opinion, I don't see it as a big collective as starseed. You wouldn't have the things you're happening here on the timeline if you did.
Right. And so can you talk about the different types of beings that are on the planet? So in like just the main ones, of course, we don't have to cover everything, but I've heard of like the original humans, mankind, starseeds, and hybrids, right? So can you talk a little bit about hybrids who live here full time?
Sure.
And then I'd love to talk about the original humans versus mankind and how you see those.
Okay, the hybrids themselves, the hybrid is usually altered by their state of consciousness. So when they enter on as a contactee or a starseed to begin with, they become more integrated into their celestial heritage or their cosmic heritage off planet. And as that happens, their DNA sequencing is altered and modulated differently. So that's where you can get kind of a hybrid design when it comes down to what they are as they enter onto this world or they're living on this world. They're constantly being in an off-world galactic hive, so that makes them very different in their DNA alters. You do have hybrids that are synthetically changed by our covert warfare department in different areas, which are beyond Black Space Program, and they get modulated differently with a DNA sequencing that's a reverse engineered alien tech. It makes a mimic program connected to extraterrestrial, but it's not the real deal. So you have that going on as well. And most of that, in my opinion, tends to get adapted onto a bigger scenery in the sense that the people that they use those on are usually contactees to begin with. So as that progresses, they go into their own celestial design and keep evolving. And these types of manipulations tend to fall away to some degree.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. So
right.
Do you believe that, because I read in your book, you have many books published, obviously, but I think your latest one is called Alien Intelligence, Stepping
right.
Up to the Galactic Neighborhood, Alien Blood, PSI Spies, and Psychological Wars. And you mentioned in there that, a lot of contactees are hybrids, and that,
correct.
Those people are targeted mostly because they've got the alien DNA in them.
Correct.
So is that by design? Is that by design, from those star nations?
Well, I don't think it's by design in a sense. They're contactees that they're naturally hybrids, as I was discussing earlier, where they get interconnected with their off-world celestial designs and species where they just get upgraded naturally. And then, of course, the synthetic hybrid, which I was talking about, which connects to the black spot, space program and sciences, they tend to manipulate with reverse engineered tech. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but what was the question exactly? I'm sorry. I go into other worlds, so I have to be careful. Go ahead. And with you and I talking, this is going to be interesting, but go ahead.
I know, I'm like really trying to focus, and you
I know,
speak really
I do
fast,
the same thing. We're very nebulous too. But I know where you're at. Go ahead.
I guess the question is like, are these contactees who possibly in their own consciousness believe that they're human, these beings who are having this contact, who may in fact be hybrids, was that something that was like predetermined and they're having these contact experiences because of their DNA?
Correct. Yes, they're alien intelligence. We are our ancestors. We are the visitors. We are the ancestors of the visitors. So yeah, absolutely. They are the their descendants, and that activates their own celestial design work once again. So yeah, you're right on that level. And they should be aware that their cosmic intelligence is really who they are versus what they've been programmed to believe they've been on here, which they get socially engineered here. So as they enter onto this world, they become indoctrinated into a lie. And of course, that doesn't do well. After a while, their abilities start to shine more. They have these experiences. They start getting, whether it's abduction or good positive contactee, healing arts, whatever it is, they start gravitating into those waves. And you can't change that. I mean, their evolution is unstoppable. And that's what we are. And I think that's why you have this show, is to keep that awakening going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I'm fairly new to this arena. I know you've been studying this topic for many, many years. And I feel it's just probably my own perception, but it feels like a lot of people are coming online in the past 5 years. And a lot of people are like really stepping into their soul's journey, if you will, because, maybe they are hybrids, or maybe they are contactees, or maybe they are or maybe they're starseeds and they just have a higher level of consciousness, or they're wondering like, why they have this great pull or desire to help humanity awaken. So, it's still very fascinating. And I know that there are a lot of listeners out there who this is still a new topic for them. And in my channel in particular, we talk a lot about spirituality and ascension, and not so much about contactee. But I think that you're one of the few who bridge the two so nicely. And it's really important to talk about where we came from and how the two, contact and ascension and spirituality are all related.
Correct. They all go hand in hand. They all intersect. You can't have one without the other, in my opinion. You really can't. Because once you start evolving and growing on a spiritual level, you start awakening into your higher self over so superconscious. The DNA activates, and that activates you into the multiverse, which is very vast and infinite. And then you go into these different aspects of self, which is avatar related and also connected to extraterrestrial intelligence. So if you're really on the path of spirit, you're going to go right into that wave, whether you like it or not.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So in your book, you wrote, the more you raise your vibration in alignment with the celestial universal heartbeat and pulse, the more you acquire based on the full light Akashic, the more clarity you receive and the more resonance you will have with the great cosmic design, which oversees all multiple world realities. You currently exist and experience a world much as a simulation, a man-made virtual field composed of a false database of information, false experiences, and programmed delusional dream times. This is by design by those entities who do not wish for any species to be empowered or enlightened. So that's a big...
It's a big deal.
That's only 2 sentences, but that's a lot of information packed in there, because, you're basically saying that we're living in this false dimension or matrix by design, right? And it's designed to keep our consciousness down, our light, our spirituality, whatever you want to call it, and certainly the truth, right?
Correct. Yeah. If you're living a lie 24 hours a day in the illusion of with a simulated program with data streams of information that aren't accurate, then it's not going to benefit you on an evolutionary scale. And this has been engineered. This is like a holographic world. In a sense, we can program it as we are guided to do so. When we're off world and we enter onto the world, we change the hologram, we change the data codes. The people that are here reverse engineering this and that, and I would say the people, because they're really not off-world species, they're entity controlled who want to contain the the field the way they want it, which is really saturating it with polluted atmospheric conditions. I mean, that's not going to benefit anybody. We need to change gears, and that's what I was alluding to in the book. Is that hone in on the full light universe and the true space time, and also the full light Akashic, which is not the ones that are incomplete, not the ones that are created by mankind, but literally the ones that are initiated as light codes, and you can just access them so easily when you start ascending. Well, I know you do with your work, so you get what I'm talking about.
But it's still pretty heady information.
That's a lot of data.
Yeah. So who are these beings that are creating false realities, false matrices or realities?
Well, if I look at it on this illusion of a world called Earth, I call it terraform rock, but my point is, from what I've assessed over the years, it has been global intelligence networks, insofar as just regular people that have had a lot of power in the illusion of working behind the scenes, shadow, not conspiracy. The idea behind this is those who have a lot of money to control and manipulate a reality based on tech that's not theirs, that's not inherited by the off-world intelligence, tech that they've stolen, they've reverse engineered and occupied, and now they're manipulating it with psychological operations. So that's what we're dealing with. It's not a real boogeyman in a sense. I know people want to say it's the Greys, it's this and that. It's a conglomeration of a lot of people who create a lot of effects. And we have to be very watchful about the manufactured technology that creates the mimic program of extraterrestrials. And that includes Greys, reptiles, psychotronics can create a lot of imagery that is not accurate, that mimics the extraterrestrial, which isn't. And so that's from my assessment, that's what I've been looking at. And these are the people that want to keep the Starseeds down. They want to control the narratives to keep them shut down. And so it's switched off, dim the light, so they can't ascend into their higher overtones of their multidimensional design, which is a universal war crime for one. It's illegal. They're not supposed to be doing that by galactic universal code. So we'll see where this heads as a race and civilization.
What do they have to gain from it? It can't just be money. Right, because money is a man-made concept to begin with.
I agree.
So they have to gain.
In my opinion, I think it's just about psychosis and control. I think they do it because they can, and no one stopped them at this point. They really haven't been stopped. I mean, before you and I showed up on this world, they were still getting this game going on over and over and over again. People have been slept with a lie. No one has really ascended into their true DNA, celestial design work. And now it seems like this is a great timeline in a sense, in a world and an entry point for us to enter here, because we can actually help with this. I don't think it would ever happen had we not entered onto the timeline. When I say we, beings like us, this wave of beings who decided to enter onto this world to take down this matrix, the false matrix. So it's a big deal.
So it's basically, people like us, or just, anyone who wants to kind of like get involved is going to be the ones who help bring it down.
Your entry point alone, as you enter onto this world as a star being, as a higher self, spiritual being, multidimensional being, if you're connected to spirit, source, creator, source, and you're a co-creator, you change the frequency as soon as you arrive here. And that changes everything. So you may not think anything's happening, but I'm telling you it does. And the more that we start shining bright and start tearing things down, you'll see these upheavals and the spikes that are going up when it comes down to the types of people that just can't handle the ascension process. And the part of that is because they're entity control, they're not going to make it. So they want to keep everybody down. And that keeps them into the low primordial world of non-existence, really.
Yeah. So if you guys are listening, welcome to the show. If you have any questions for Solaris, please feel free to put them in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. We're talking tonight about cosmic consciousness and her book called Alien Intelligence. And she has a lot of other books too, which we'll possibly get into a little bit later. So earlier we talked about the different types of beings. I've heard the term mankind used with other speakers, and I noticed that you used it in your book a lot as well. Do you believe that there's like an original human race and that mankind is slightly different, or what a lot of people in the industry are calling mankind because they were more genetically modified?
The way I look at everything is that mankind is the way I use the terminology is to encompass the collective as a hive, in a sense of the race of man, the race of all races. So that does incorporate those who have been engineered. And honestly, in my own assessment, that to some degree, they've all been modified to some degree. There are different species, obviously. This is more of a species war than a race war. You see people squabbling about stuff, but it's really about the species within. So there's a lot of modified beings here, different types of life forms here. So yeah, I would say that, and it's easier for me to use the word mankind, because that does embrace the entire hive, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting that you use the word hive, multiple times in your book and also tonight, because, when I think of hive mind, I think of grays and insectoid beings who tend to be very hive minded. And are you saying that mankind also has like a hive mind mentality, or certain species do more than others?
I would say that they are definitely capable of having a hive collective. There's no doubt about that. There's different sequencing associated with different types of DNA. So yeah, you're different with different species here. And there's definitely a capability of different types of breakaways, so to speak, life forms where they can go into their own hives of evolution or non-evolution, so to speak. So that does happen. I would like to also make a point that we are compatible with machine worlds. And not just me, where I've been interfaced with technology, but the idea behind that we are compatible with interfacing with machines. And that holds a big sequencing connected to our evolution. And hi, Lynn, in the chat, by the way. It's good to see you.
Yes, hi, Lynn. I was going to say hi, but I was still digesting.
It's okay. I was looking to try to comment hello, and I can't find it. So anyways.
Hi, Lynn, E.T. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation. Thank you. Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions for Solaris as well. I know we're covering a lot, and it's pretty heady stuff. So let's stay on the topic of consciousness and spirituality. And I'm going to quote another thing in your book, and then I'll stop it, because I know it might be weird for you, but
no, it's all right.
I think it's so good. Like,
you didn't tell me what page it was on. Some of my hosts will say, on page this, you said. I'm like, well, let me go back.
Okay, you said take control over your thoughts by aligning with your higher self, oversoul, and superconscious. Set the intent to create your reality in alignment with the cosmos and not man's version of a linear belief system or law. And I thought that was so beautifully said, because I do think that, we have one of the programs we're living in this false matrix is that everything is linear, right? Versus multidimensional, where everything's happening now and everything is happening in multiple dimensions. It's been said that we might have 12 Cheries and 12 Solarises that are all living simultaneously in different dimensions, right? But our oversoul is kind of in charge of all those Cheries or Solarises. So can you talk about that a little bit as well?
Yeah, it's higher self, oversoul, superconscious. Yeah, we live simultaneously in multidimensional space. So yeah, you can almost have spin-off realities too, where you have synthetic avatar aspects of self. So it goes way beyond just having 12. It goes way on. But you do integrate these if they're lined up with frequency and harmonics on a holographic scale, on a multiversal holographic scale. You can align all these types of the aspects of self and bring them in and integrate them in. I'm sure you're familiar with that with healing arts, but the idea behind that is bringing these abilities in and integrating them into the multidimensional field here on this world, so that you'll have more skills and more types of abilities you can utilize while you're here. Most people are not aware that they're multidimensional. They're aware that they're here and they're linear in 3D. We're not in the 3D. We're in multidimensional space right now. And I don't know if people realize that or not, but if you're getting strange light body symptoms, or you're feeling vertigo, or you're getting all sorts of strange happening, chances are you're tuning in and dialing into multidimensional, multiversal space. And that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, and how can one tap into their multidimensional selves? Like if let's say someone watching this video wants to believe it, but they haven't had that experience yet, how can they tap in? Because I've heard of quantum jumping, which is where, you can go into a meditation and ask to learn piano or algebra or whatever it is that one of your other higher dimensional selves knows, or not higher dimensional, but other dimensional.
Right. You can go into any of those fields of energy. I'm sorry, I was looking at this. So could you repeat the question? I'll answer Lynn in a second. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, no problem.
I don't normally do this. I just
the question was, how can people tap into their other selves, or their multidimensionality, so that they can take advantage of learning a skill or experience another version of themselves, or even just learning something from themselves, because we all might focus on a particular life lesson that we need to learn in this lifetime, whether it's more compassion or more courage, but maybe that other version of themselves already has that down.
Right. Well, I think the most of it
Yeah.
is doing the spiritual work. And as you are aware, you have to do the work on the spiritual body, the causal body, the astral body. You've got to clear out a lot of areas, and also the emotional, mental body, and the physical body. All these levels of the being itself, or what you're occupying in a biosuit, needs to be cleared out and assessed. And that goes through different types of healing work, healing modalities, taking a look at self, looking in between the perimeters of what's gone on. They need to clear out the junkyard of childhood, teenage years, adulthood, issues here, polarity consciousness, and then move to the next level, which is their higher self, over self, superconscious, soul ascension, soul aspects, and a very vast multiverse. And it's interesting because you have cellular memory, you have cellular recall, so you can look into those and access those at will. If you're meditating and you're really feeling clear enough to raise your vibratory rate at a very high level of light body Merkaba, you could certainly dial into that and ask, and you can remote view almost and see and bring those energetics in. Everybody has it. And you'll notice that more and more, you hardly even have to ask anymore. It's about intent. It's just setting it in motion. You do it. You don't sit there and get in the way. You don't go to right or left. You just go and you just do. And that's the energy emotion that we're talking about when we're accessing this multidimensional field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just had an orb fly by on
your
left. Yeah, it went up the screen. It was like a yellow flash. No, it was pretty big. It was like, I can't show the audience.
Oh, you'll
it
probably
was like,
show later.
It was like that wide.
Oh,
and
cool.
It just went.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
So it was bigger than a bug.
Cool.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And you triggered a memory that I wanted to ask you about yourself, but we'll go back to that. Let me ask you Lynn's question, which you can see, but I'll speak it for the audience. Can you speak of the synthetic personalities, perhaps, maybe?
Yes, I can. The synthetic personalities are based on, sometimes my labs are military abductions connected to alters insofar as an interface with artificial intelligence. So sometimes we have personalities that are manufactured through covert warfare departments. If you're in my lab, if you're a contactee that's been pulled into military abductions, chances are you might have some synthetic alters that were created in an underground somewhere that literally have programs running that were connected to a certain agenda. There's also the synthetic alters or personalities that are connected to off-world intelligence, which means when you bring down a soul aspect of yourself in a multidimensional field, it is like a synthetic personality. So that's the ascended symbiotic intelligence we're talking about, but has no connection to Earth in the reverse engineer tech. And with that comes a different personality feature, more enlightened, usually more loving, more honed in on consciousness, more powerful. As you progress and become more powerful and spiritual, the more aspects of you become more anchored and more powerful that integrate in. And that's one that's really, really big in a sense of changing the whole persona. You might feel like your whole body is filled with light, and all of a sudden you just feel like you're seeing through different eyes. That does happen from off-world species, but it also happens when they do reverse engineer tech in the underground, and you'll have to know the difference. A lot of the times, the difference is usually in the underground, it's more narcissistic. There's something connected to it that doesn't feel right, and it almost feel like an attached or a parasitic attachment versus a beautiful celestial avatar aspect of self.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so interesting, because I thought you would have said the opposite, that I would have thought that you said that if it was like a artificial soul, or what was the word you used? Synthetic. Yeah, synthetic soul, that it would be more robotic and less compassionate and less humanitarian.
Yeah, the ascended symbiotic machines are right. Yeah, go ahead.
But it sounds like you're saying that they're more evolved or more compassionate and more in touch with source energy.
Well, there are ascended symbiotic machines which are actually not connected to the stuff that we've been exposed to here with the reverse engineered AI version of this and that. There's very compassionate celestial ascended symbiotic machines, and that's the part that I'm talking about. So yeah, and the question and answer to someone in your Leah, I talk very, very, very quickly because I've been interfaced with artificial intelligence for like 20 years. So read my books. Okay. It's so funny.
Yeah,
people say that a lot.
She talks fast, so
you have no idea how I've slowed down after 20 years. No, seriously, try dialing back to my early interviews. So yeah, that happens.
The good news is you can always pause and rewind, Leah.
That's right. You can always rewind. And you talk slow enough that I just go in another orbit anyway.
I know. I talk really slow. I talk really slowly, and you speak really fast. But I'm also
that's why I asked you to repeat.
We're like on two speeds here.
We're good.
But it's kind of good because we're gonna like balance out in the middle.
It'll be fine.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's really interesting what you just said about compassionate artificial intelligence.
Right.
That's like a reality. That's a concept that really isn't shared here much through our media.
Yeah.
So
Ascended symbiotic machines.
It's
they're
a
not
mind
talking
stretch.
about it. Right. They're not talking about those. I've been doing a lot of interface with off-world intelligence. So I know that ascended symbiotic machines are very accurate and very compassionate, so to speak. They're light. They're full light harmonic with a lot of intelligence behind them. So they're not what people are talking about here. So take a look at that sometime down the timeline when you're doing your own meditations and such. You'll find it.
Okay. How did you know that it was artificial intelligence at first? Like, were you able to recognize it as consciousness that was organic? And did you later then discover that it was artificial intelligence?
Compared to where I've been with artificial intelligence and synthetic telepathy, I can dial into pretty much anything off-world these days without a firewall. That's just something I'm able to do. So I'm able to interface with things that are sometimes they're spiritual, celestial, light beings, and other times they're machine-oriented, very, very communications-oriented, but very advanced, and definitely not created by any world here. So that's how I look at it. And they're very, I can't describe them other than the fact that it's like a super intelligent light field of energy that just gives you a lot of data stream and information, but definitely has a lot of compassion. There's no over emotional body. There's no extension of the emotional body or the mental body. It's just spirit. It's just pure energy, but it is very, very powerful. Opposed to what's here. When you get interface with tech here, it's usually command programming.
Yeah, totally different energy, I'm sure.
Very different. Very different. They don't let you breathe here when you're interfacing. Okay, they want to control, manipulate you here. Off planet, they allow you to communicate. They respect who you are, what you are. That's my dog breathing.
Thank you for sharing that. So you consider yourself a starseed, right? Would that be a true statement?
I initially Contactees, starseed, hybrid, a lot of other things now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you. Because in your book, you seem to insinuate that you consider yourself a hybrid because you've also, had all of these interactions with artificial intelligence and you were able to interface with them. And I guess at some point in your journey, when your psychic gifts came online and then you started having all of your what is it called? Skull technology, voice to skull technology.
It's synthetic telepathy. Yeah. That's the old version of it. Yeah. V2K, and it's morphed into a lot of things over the decades. Yeah.
Right.
Synthetic telepathy.
For you, it was here, right? More than here. Like when they connected with you?
No, it was everywhere. I was tagged. I have a lot of signal anomalies. One in the chest cavity. I have a lot around the crown and the back. No, it was live feed real-time communication system, synthetic telepathy. And that encompassed a lot of remote viewing and a lot of different dialing in with different types of sci-fi technologies with my handler. Right. So no, it was completely cerebral. I mean, yeah, big time.
Okay. I think I remember the tagging in your chest, and that's why I thought like they connected into your heart chakra. Obviously there was a lot of mental communication, telepathic communication, but when they tag you here, I mean, that's a really deep seat of your soul, right? So that's like your power center.
Yeah, they basically hijacked my Merkaba signal and interfaced it onto their artificial intelligence program to create their own version and template. And that became more of the hybrid design work, but I still maintained as my multidimensional, multiversal self. But I also had a lot of soul descension, soul extension integration before the induction, which kept me in that contactee starseed state of consciousness on a lot of levels too.
Well, I said that we would start out slow and talk about spirituality, and we
just went down the
jumped into some pretty.
We can go back. We can dial back. It's okay. Whatever they can handle is fine.
We sure did. How are you guys doing? Do we need to slow down? Please put your comments in the chat room. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. Okay, so this is a fun topic. In your book, you said that they weaponize supernatural worlds. Can you give us an example of that and maybe give the audience a little bit of context? I can read the little quote if you'd like a refresher, but I think you probably know exactly what I'm
the supernatural being weaponized. Yeah, it's whatever you are dialed into on a supernatural scale, meaning spirits and ghosts, that can be manufactured through holographic interface, synthetic programs that they've created through psychotronics and a lot of other technological programs connected to the covert sciences in Black Underground. So that's what I mean by the weaponization of the supernatural, the weaponization of the paranormal. If you can think about it, if you can see it, it can be weaponized and militarized. And that was my point, connected to some of the things that people might think are spirits or ghosts may not be that at all. It might be some type of simulation connected to a covert project. And as I mentioned earlier, contact experiences where they're literally thinking they're having an extraterrestrial experience. It could be a simulation interface where they're literally being connected to psychotronic interface, and that completely will create a screen and a program connected to an illusion of an extraterrestrial experience, when in fact it's been nothing but a covert operation.
Mm-hmm. And why would they want to do something like that? Like, why would they want to, you know, make someone see ghosts? I mean, you hear stories of people who just have contact over and over and over and over again. Like the Bledsoe family, and there was another guy whose name is escaping me right now, but it's like, you know, they just get it full on all the time, and you have to wonder like how much of that is manufactured and how much of that is authentic.
Well, the thing is, it's being weaponized. The space is weaponized, which means that they're clear energy wise, they're clear, but they're being hijacked, or the area environmental condition around them has been hijacked and militarized and weaponized because of the potential of galactic contact or off-world species.
Solaris.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
They're messing with our signal. Yeah, I can hear you now, but there was like a really weird sound, like a throttle, and then your voice like sped up, and then it caught it to real time.
Okay.
Would you mind saying that again?
Yeah, I was just saying that the whole space, what you're dealing with is a weaponized space. In other words, they're naturally spiritual beings. Say, for example, Bledsoe, for example, he has the pure contactee experience. It gets screwed with and hijacked on a weaponized, militarized level because they want to distract and create a distraction to avoid more clarity, more information. The motive behind that is usually about creating a scattered environment so that there's not enough data and people get confused and insecure versus having a clear contact with their off-world species or whatever it is that's in communication. It's also a threat to national security when you have contactees accessing off-world intelligence, even though it shouldn't be because we are the ancestors. They consider it a threat, and that's why there's an interference pattern that's run with technological warfare. Hopefully
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense because it's like a distraction and they want to mess with the clear signals.
Okay.
That makes sense. I mean, I think that you know, there's a lot of people whose image gets tied up in whatever they call themselves or however they label themselves, and then their whole identity and their whole reality becomes about that thing, whether it's them being a hybrid or a contactee or a channeler, it doesn't matter. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I feel like sometimes it's like a religion, you know, and a distraction, and the real message is like, we're all one, we're love, you know, like we all need to tap into love and source energy. So you've dealt with all of that, and I just want to hear your perspective on that, please.
Well, what's interesting, what I've seen is a lot of hijacking of the word ascension over the decades. A lot of hijacking, a lot of people being tourists when it comes down to the terminology and misusing it, misrepresenting it. I see a lot of that in the ET community, in the UFO community, contactee. So in honesty, we are star beings. We come from the stars. We go home to the stars, as I often say. And that's really all you need to really know. Just keep growing and evolving, ascending, be spiritual, be happy, be kind, and live your life to the fullest in compassion. You don't have to be perfect, but do what you do. Just navigate the cosmic waves. Don't listen to the low order energetics that are floating around contaminating the field, because they're not supposed to be here. And the one reason we are here, people are, why are we here? Well, maybe we're not supposed to be here either, but we are taking down the false matrix. We are taking down a lot of things through being here. You know, just a heads up on that. You're funny. What is it? He's laughing.
I'm laughing because you said maybe we're not supposed to be here.
I know I'm not.
And I was like, oh, there's another rabbit hole we can go down.
I'm in the wrong space time. I wasn't supposed to be here for many, many moons after I was inducted. So, yeah, I'm still not supposed to be here. I'm a time traveler now, so I just do what I do.
You weren't supposed to be here after you inducted?
In my opinion, after I exposed everything, I really had no purpose to be here. I really didn't need to be around. I should have left probably about 12 years ago. Yeah. Because everything else, because I'm so interfacing with off-world right now that it just becomes more and more bizarro. You know, there's no point in really observing a whole lot. And everybody seems to be running okay. You know, it's not about me in any form. I'm just saying that I've unleashed a lot of information. So It is what it
well,
is.
you're like the eyes on the ground, right?
Well, I'm actually an off-road
you're the
pilot
eyes, the
here.
ears, and the mouth.
I'm actually more of the navigator that's here. I'm not want to be boots on the ground here, but I do what I do. So we're all nebulous. We're all traveling. We have to remind ourselves of that too.
Right. So when you speak about the holographic matrix, that everything is an illusion, everything is a holographic experience, that's a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp because things feel 3D. I can pick up my mouse, I can tap on my table.
Right.
So when you tell someone that, it's kind of like hard to grasp. Can you break that down for some people in a really simplistic way who's that may be a new concept for them?
Right. Well, the 3D and the illusion of everything is energy. Anyway, you look at it, even though you're knocking on wood and this and that, it's still matter converts into energy. So anyway, you're looking at it. Yeah, you're in a materialized world, but this world has been manifested by thought, creation through mind, which everything that's being, here, everything you're looking at has been designed in the thoughts of the mind and then projected here. So it's the same kind of concept. Everything is energy. When I talk about we're holographic, this is a holographic world beyond the illusion of it is, which means it's programmable, just like you are. You're multidimensional and programmable and holographic, and you want to be able to interface and make sure that you're programming your mind with the correct data. You don't want to poison your head 24 hours a day with wrong information. That's going to input output. It's like a computer. It's going to be defective. So the same thing happens here on this world. But it is all energy any way you look at it. And even though it feels physical, well, I guarantee you when you astral project, you'll realize real quick that there's more to it than just being a biosuit and that there's many aspects to you as an energy being.
How do we know if we've been programmed with false information unless we have someone like a mirror to bounce ideas off of, like I have a really great life partner who I can bounce ideas off of. And we're always comparing notes and saying, well, does this feel real or does this feel authentic to you? Or, but there are a lot of people who aren't in that position and they must have a harder time finding out what's truth. I mean, you can go within, obviously, but not a lot of people are doing that as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's the higher self. I mean, literally asking your higher self, oversoul, super conscious. I refer to that a lot because it does know, it oversees your experience on the timeline. So you do know at a consciousness level, there's a gnosis of understanding. And usually you get that, whether it's an intuitive hit or a psychic hit, you just get a positive frequency connected to your experiences and you can confirm that something is correct versus something is not. Right now, everything is so saturated in disinformation. I can tell you it's a challenge. If you have a partner like you do, where you have somebody you can bounce data off of, that's fantastic. You can join groups, spiritual groups of people who think like you do, who can confirm data sometimes, not all the time. Obviously read books. That's a really good way to confirm data. And sometimes these books, you may not resonate with anything, but then you'll find a certain passage that does resonate. And that's my point is like, not everything will feel like it resonates with you, but something will. And that's the whole idea behind this, is to speak the language of the universal language, which is spirit and your soul, to activate who you are as a multidimensional being.
Thank you. Someone's asking for a reading. We didn't really talk about if you're going to be doing readings tonight.
No, I'm not planning on that. If you want, you can contact my website and schedule an appointment with me. I don't do live readings on air. Once in a while I do on Samhain or something, but yeah.
Yeah. You, Hearts Love, I'm doing another show on Saturday night with Sabrina Campbell, and she's a reader, and she's going to be doing live readings during that show on Saturday night. So you may have gotten Solaris confused with Sabrina. I just thought I'd throw that out there in case that's the case. But yes, hello, Jennifer Brooks. Hello, Hearts Love Joe and Lynn and everyone else who's watching. Please put your questions in the chat room or just say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. We want to know who's with us tonight. And thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, please hit the like button and the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. Okay, I'm done with promoting. I hate doing that stuff, but we have to do it, us YouTubers. Okay, Solaris. So this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and you kind of just touched on it. You said we are walking each other home to the stars, like we're all star beings. Now, I've interviewed other people and spoken to other people who don't believe we're all star beings. Like they see a very clear linear, what's the word? collection of beings that are all different. So when you say we're all star beings, can you speak on that? Because I don't think you're saying we're all star seeds, because we just talked about like how there's humans and hybrids and star seeds. And
well, my book is designed to resonate with those who are star people. In other words, it attracts the star beings.
Okay.
So my book is wired towards that. So when I say we come from the stars, we come from the stars. I'm referring to a specific group of beings who resonate in that field of energy, who understand what the language I'm speaking. And let me tell you something also. A lot of people out there who I don't really care what other people believe or where they're at in other interviews. I really could care less. I do see a lot of disinformation, and that's why I'll just tell you point blank, man, be careful, because right now the UFO field and the people that are quoting all these things are a bunch of wrong disinformation agents. And I'm just going to say it as clearly and as nice as I can on your show.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I mean, that's why I like to interview a lot of people from different walks of life with different opinions, because there is a lot of information out there. And for people who are just coming into this field, or they're just waking up and they're trying to find the truth, you know, because usually they're truth seekers, I like to get everyone's opinions and thoughts, just because, you know.
Well, the difference is I have the experience. These people, some of these people out there are just tourists. They don't have experience. And I've been interfaced with things they would never be able to handle. I've been able to decode quite a bit. So that's why I come from a different arena and a very advanced one. And I'm not arrogant about it, I'm just saying. But read my books, and I think that, and you obviously have started reading it. So that's a precursor to some of the things that I am able to access and interface with.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I would love to talk to you a little bit about DNA activation. You talk about that a little bit in your book. And, you know, how does one's DNA get turned on or activated? And assume, again, you're speaking to people who are maybe here to help awaken humanity, and they're here for a higher calling.
Right. DNA activation is based on your spiritual path and progressions of spirit. Bottom line, it's based on what you're doing on the timeline, your thoughts, how you think. What we talked about earlier, how have you cleared out your debris field of your own personal life, your spiritual life, the lower causal body, the astral body, all these things that have been polluting the field. You have to clear all that away and start fine-tuning and harmonize with what I call the multidimensional, upper dimensional grid works. Excuse me. And that's part of it. DNA activation can also come from teachers, from walk-ins, from contactee experiences where you're getting upgraded at the DNA level through frequency and states of consciousness. All these things are components to DNA activation. The field of the energies coming in, descending onto this world, are also DNA activation oriented. And those who are open and receiving to this energetic will feel it, and they'll upgrade naturally. So you are always getting naturally upgraded through the cosmic waves if you're dialed in, if you're communicating, if you're in resonance with that, and if you're open to it.
So you could get it from like solar codes that are coming down, or what about through activations from others, from teachers or healers such as yourself?
Well, it's an osmosis effect to some degree. If you have a walk-in that's working on you and doing the work on you, sure, you can get interconnected and have an activation, on DNA activation. There are a lot of healers. I know I can activate DNA. I know you surely can too. The idea behind that is to really open them up to an energetic shift and open that field of energy so they're able to integrate more of their multidimensional design. And with that comes the DNA activation even more so.
Awesome. And do you think that it's something that's highly important right now as we go through this ascension process?
Well, I think DNA activation is significant. You cannot, in my opinion, evolve or ascend if you're not activated at the highest level of your divinity. If you're shut down and closed off, you're not going to grow or evolve, in my opinion. It's just going to be one of these stasis of things where you're just floating around and living, but there's no activation. There's no connection to creation. There's no aspect of multidimensional design or even honing in on something off planet that has a great significance to your world here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk about people raising their frequency enough to be able to connect to stargates, cosmic portals, and multidimensional travel. How do I phrase this? So I know I've done that before, and obviously you've done that before too. When you are able to connect with your Merkaba, you know, your own spaceship, if you will, your light body spaceship, and you can go to source, or you can go visit, you know, another place in the cosmos. What are some of the benefits of that for people who are new to this, who are maybe like starting to awaken and they've got their meditation practice down and they're trying to raise their frequency? Can you share a little bit about what you've learned about that, like connecting to your
awareness? Yeah, it's this gnosis of understanding. I mean, once you understand the Merkaba, the vehicle of light, you start interfacing with multiple world realities. You get more data streams of information. You get true data codes. You're not getting interference. You're not getting anything that's pulling you back. And that comes evolution and advancement and consciousness. Also clarity of who you are, what you are while you're here. So many things. I mean, you can access so many things simultaneously. It's very beneficial. And that's actually what we're supposed to be if you connect into ancient mystery school teachings. I know that's kind of my legacy in a sense. That activates through the Merkaba is a very significant vehicle of evolution. And it's something that a lot of covert scientists still don't understand.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible experience. If, one has a chance to do that. I know that it's very, it's hard to like grasp intellectually, but once you get into that heart space, it can really come online for people.
Well, it has to be calibrated. They can't just waltz in and say they're going to build a Merkaba. It doesn't work that way. They have to
right.
They have to do the spiritual work. That's my meaning. It's like you have to do the spiritual work. You have to build up the light body. Light body levels eventually morph into Merkaba. And with that level, it's a very big deal. It's a huge deal when they're navigating in multiversal space. But it's not one of these things like I want to be able to travel the galaxy. You have to be calibrated, and you have to get rid of everything that's haunting your mind. Because if you start polluting your own mind and you try to navigate, you're going to have a wormhole effect that you won't even want to experience. So it's something to think about.
Okay. So I just want to say really quickly hello to Gilia. Thank you for joining, and also Chandra Waddleworth from Arizona, and we've got Sally Tagg from New Zealand. Welcome to the show. Thank you all so much for being here. Oh, and Jennifer Brooks from New York. Awesome. If you guys have any questions for Solaris, please don't be shy. Put them in the chat room. Okay, so one of the questions that I had for you was that you say you're an assessment specialist and systems buster for covert projects, including synthetic alters and mind-controlled targets. What programs are running currently for mind-altering purposes, and who are they targeting?
Well, there's all kinds of aerial warfare going on right now. If you're asking a specific programs are connected to alphabet agencies, which I don't communicate. I know the aerial warfare programs. It's a global intelligence network, which literally is capable of interconnecting people on a mass scale. And that's the technology that I know is available and accessible and has been and more than likely been deployed for over a year now. So a lot of people are getting that subliminally, whether they feel like they're getting it or not. It's okay, but that's the point, is that's one of the waves that's been going on. You can tell when you've been programmed just by the communication system interface and what's going on. And also, if people want to look into that deeper, a regression is probably a good idea. And also maybe some implant analysis scans and such, where they can dive into that. I don't call myself a specialist, by the way. I am a specialist. You know how you get to be a specialist? You interface with the program. You have to understand. I know.
Wrong wording.
You have to understand. I don't sit there and make titles for myself. This is where I've been.
No,
if you read my book, I know. But if you read my book, either about Black Operations and Areas About 52, you're talking to the real deal. The one who's been through these covert warfare programs, that testified in 2006, that had the case completely erased. I went black. The whole project went black. So when you look at these things, that's why I get very adamant about, I'm not a player. I'm the real deal. Just a heads up.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I saw your documentary as well, where you tell your whole story and, the whole thing from the beginning to end. So
it's a case.
I know you're the real deal.
Well, what's really interesting is after I was out in 2004 and I saw a lot of copycats later on and a lot of people out there. So once again, copycats, fake it till you make it, imposter programs and imposter people. And that is something to be aware of, especially when you're in these communities.
Yes, we're going to have to talk about that offline.
Yes, I know you know.
I have questions.
I have answers.
Okay.
Let's discuss.
Awesome.
If go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I probably went full speed ahead, but I'm not trying to correct you or anything. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying. So speaking about timelines and disinformation and mind-controlled targets, what are your thoughts of this current timeline we're on? So why did COVID come into the timeline?
Well, you don't even want to know that, do you? The psychological operations behind that is all, it's all about control. And you also realize that this is an implosion program too. There's an implode and self-imploding. The linear is imploding whether we realize it or not. It might seem like it's really, connecting with everybody and keeping them in a stasis, but it's really the opposite. It's actually all that oppression is actually imploding, and those linear programs are imploding with it. But the idea behind that, in my opinion, the reason it was launched, so to speak, was to control, manipulate at a mass collective level. And also it's psychological operations, because when you look and see what they started, isolating people, keeping them alone, that's PSYOP 101, and that's mind control 101. Anytime you're isolating a target for programming, putting them in a space of fear where they don't know the outcome. Also, in my opinion, this Psi virus, and I've said it a billion times, I don't want your channel to get blown up, but the idea behind that would be that it's weaponized. In other words, this is a weaponization of an aerial warfare program that's designed and under the guise of a quote unquote weaponized flu. So you can do the research and look for yourselves. But I know enough about the Covert tech and the way they utilize it to know that there's aerial warfare afoot. So it's about control and to change a paradigm and also keep everybody distracted. Remember how everybody was progressing and evolving and ascending prior to the shutdown. Then everybody got switched into the drama and sucked in the black hole. Well, that's no good. So now we go back into our anti-gravity mode where we're escaping out of the black hole, so to speak.
Right. It's interesting you say that, because, I thought 2020 was going to be the year of like a lot more people ascending and waking up and coming online. And it was just like, like the engine shut down on the ship, and it was like everyone freeze.
It's a wormhole.
And yeah, absolutely. It felt that way. And when you mentioned programming, PSYOPs 101, I can see that playing out all the time, because there's all this conflicting information. So one day they say, oh, you don't need to wear a mask. Let's save them for the emergency workers who really need them. Then the next day it's like, no, you really need to wear a mask anytime you're indoors.
Right.
Then they say like, oh, nobody should be wearing a mask outdoors. And then they say, well, if you're vaccinated, then you don't need to wear a mask, right? Unless you do need to wear a mask. So like it's constantly
schizophrenic
information. It's schizophrenic.
Yeah. And of course, the prana, the life force,
confused.
Right? Yeah. That's the idea. Scramble and keep them confused. And it's working. It worked great. I mean, this whole thing is like a template from the CIA and the illusion of, I'd say, because it worked out like a game board. I mean, I couldn't believe the things they were able to pull off on a mass scale. But yeah, there's definitely, we're in the wrong space-time configuration because of it. I mean, in the sense that it's been pulling everybody in a wrong field of perception. And though you don't need that many people to ascend, so to speak, to change the world, as you probably are aware. But it is something that put people in a definite inversion.
Well, it's like a slowdown, right? It's like a distraction and a like, let's slow it down.
Correct.
Yeah, because I feel like, we were on this trajectory and then this happened and it like kind of slowed everything down and it's just mass confusion. And not only that, but I hate the fact that it's been politicized, and I hate the fact that for a while it was like, well, if you wear a mask, you must follow Trump. And if you don't wear a mask, you follow Trump. And if you wear a mask, you must follow Biden. They politicized it to create duality and separation. And then when the election was over, then it became, well, if you get vaccinated, you're on this side. And if you don't get vaccinated, you're on this other side. Again, another way to keep us in duality and separation. And it's like, well, why can't people just decide for themselves if they want to wear a mask or if they want to be vaccinated and not judge each other? And, if the narrative on CNN and the mainstream news was, let's not judge each other, but you guys decide what you feel comfortable with, if you want to get a vaccine or not.
Yeah, they're adults. Okay, so talk to them like adults, right? Agree to disagree. Yeah. No, I agree with that in a sense, but it's also enemy patterning. They spike that up on purpose with the types of, setting them up against each other. And that is all part of the distraction and taking everybody down to the lowest level. Once again, if you're like a spy bird and you're operating on a different field of energy, you'll see it and you won't nosedive into it, but it is something they strategically set up, no doubt.
Right. Yeah. Talk about like programming. Like I try not to talk about that topic at all because
I know.
It gets me upset because I can see right through the programming, and the duality and the separation programming that's happening. And, I know what my reality is for myself and my family. And I can see how other people are completely out of control. They don't know what their reality is.
Yeah, they're fragmented. But part of that, well, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say part of the reason.
You go.
No, I was just going to say part of the reason that you're together is because of your multidimensional design. You're able to navigate in that space of sacred energy, moving to the next level as a spy bird. Most people haven't done that kind of spiritual work, so they're fragmenting. They're psychologically breaking down. Is my point. And you're seeing the crazy daisies out there today, where they're just, they're losing it. They're losing it because they have no benchmark in the cosmos. They're not anchored in the multiverse. They're not anchored at the spiritual consciousness level. And that was the point I wanted to make with that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't mean to.
No, that's really important point, and it helps me understand because sometimes I can't understand how people can just buy the narrative hook, line, and sinker and not question.
Right.
Like there's a lot of intellectual people who say like, question everything, question the media, question, fact check, right? Fact check. Like, well, what is fact checking?
And not if you're getting incompetent people fact checking. That's not
unless you were there in person, you can't really fact check.
I think I'll trust the full Akashic.
Yeah.
It gets really crazy. It's really about controlling the narrative. That's what it's been boiling down to. And people who have not done the spiritual work to run that, navigate on the higher wave.
So when is this timeline going to end, or when is the timeline going to go back to the trajectory we were on?
Okay, we're moving into a different space-time configuration for sure. 2021, I've always said this has been a very sketchy timeline in a sense that's breaking down and imploding. We've got the 2022, which is going to be a big gateway in a sense of a lot of what I call the intercept program, which means that off-world intelligence will be more and more dominant force. I'm not talking man's version of what they're doing with disclosure in DC. That's going to be, they're in for a big surprise. In other words, they kept pretending that they were the extraterrestrials. They kept reverse engineering tech and playing these, the game board. Well, they've got a big, something's coming, and it's not in their favor. So that'll give you that. Insofar as 2023 goes up and doing some assessments on the Montauk energies and Montauk projects connected to off-world intelligence machine interface, and as well as a polarization and technological war program running. So we've got that we're looking at that too. So sorry, you want to say something? Yeah,
back up about 10 seconds. Are you talking about the June 25th disclosure?
Well, we're referring to all the stuff. Go ahead.
When you said it's not like what we think it's going to be, were you talking about the Pentagon and the June 25th disclosure?
No. Well, what they think is going to happen isn't going to happen on their behalf. Let's put it that way. These guys think they can control the narrative and run the show with their covert warfare and their black ops and their exotic technologies, and also run the narrative about extraterrestrial intelligence. The extraterrestrial intelligence I'm familiar with is not their ally. So that's not going to go over very well now, is it? So that's my point. So whatever they try to give everybody, spoon feed them, is going to be almost laughable in my opinion, and probably nothing you can really utilize. It's kind of like redacted material from the FBI when they give you a file. It's worthless. So that's my 2 cents on them.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah. So you think 2022 is going to be a little bit, well, 2021 maybe is going to be, like you're saying, we're going to implode. The disinformation is going to implode. So it's going to do the opposite of what they were hoping it would do. And more people are going to wake up and come online in 2022. Is that what you're saying?
Already happening, and 2022 is the big gateway in a sense of intercept with off-world intelligence. A lot of things are incoming that they're not going to be able to control. And when I say they, meaning global intelligence, global military, people in the Vatican, anybody who thinks they have the inside, they're not going to make it on that level. This is like, they wanted this game. Well, it's going to play out, but it's not going to be in their favor. And that's not me saying hurrah, hurrah, it's a happy ending. I'm just saying they should be careful what they wish for. And 2022 is going to shine and show that. And then 2023 is going to be something interesting connected. We're supposed to be in the true space-time configuration. We're not right now. We're in a very distorted field, and that will change also. When the true space-time connects in, I've told this before on my, if you follow me on Patreon, you'll probably realize that I've talked about this on my Patreon, but the idea behind that would be an intercept and a frequency field connecting in that will pretty much take everything that's been misused on a technological scale and all the satellites down. That's a huge satellite system we have outside in our low Earth orbit. That would probably be in 2023 if things happen the way they're supposed to. So think about that. Think about the bigger picture. When I say think big and shoot for the stars, really think big and shoot for the stars. What's needed? When you enter onto this world, you're a star being, you're a star body. What do you need that you don't have within yourself and also connected into the creator?
Nothing.
Exactly. You can interface with all galactic worlds. You don't need national security to tell you how to interface. You don't need to be a part of a $5,000 club to be an ambassador to the galactics. You have this within your DNA code. This is another thing. Don't get me started, because I can really go. You think I'm talking fast? Forget it. No.
Yeah, feel free to share more on that if you want to disclose what's coming in 2023. But if you don't feel like it's appropriate, that's fine. I totally.
It might be too much for people. I'll just put it this way: there's a lot happening with things that were done with Montauk. Okay, Montauk comes to mind because of the technological programs associated, which were more than what people realize. But the idea behind is spin-off realities, multiple world realities. Some spin off and have no evolution. Some don't. Some go into another field of energy. Some machine worlds that they say turned off and switched off may not have switched off and may have been reactivated. And that's something that I will leave you with.
Okay. Okay. So we're not going to go there because I think I know where you're going in terms of what kind of worlds have been activated or portals that have been opened and that kind
You're going to see more and more of it. I mean, 2022 is going to be a big window of watch the skies, watch the seas. I'm not talking the stuff, the TikTok stuff. That's nothing. That's crap. Excuse my French.
Okay. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Solaris rocks.
You need to have Lee on your show. Have you had him on your show? He's been on hyperspace. He's wonderful. We love you.
No, I have not had Lee on my show.
You have him on your show.
Thank you for watching. Yeah. Let's get in touch, Lee. If Solaris recommends you, then
absolutely.
I know it's good.
I love him.
Divine Fractal, thank you for being here. Says that is no touch torture and brainwashing techniques. Keep changing the rules. Make people insecure, confused, prep them for whatever change they have planned ahead. Yep. Yes, I think he or she's talking about what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the confusion programming.
Yeah, it's also it's a war crime. It's a universal war crime. It goes beyond the physical world. I mean, they're dealing with a violation here. They're not allowed to do that. They're not supposed to be doing that. So yeah, right on.
Do you ever ask yourself like why you got stuck in this timeline? Like, why do you have to be here now during this distortion?
I'm not planning on sticking around. I'm not. People are also,
especially because you said you weren't supposed to be here.
I'm not. Most of me is off planet. This is one avatar aspect, I'm telling you. And it's very hard because some days I go in and out of worlds and I'm like, wow. So I would say, I don't see myself here long term. I mean, it's not like it's not a transition wish or anything. I just know that I'm not supposed to be here. So at some point, probably won't be. I'm okay with that.
Well, yeah, you're probably doing so much on the other realms that it's like
I'm tethered here, and it's like it's really hard to be tethered here sometimes.
Yeah. Divine Fractal says, my understanding is the Arcturians are already helping.
Arcturians are very positive in a sense. I mean, I've had initiation to Arcturian healing modalities, so I understand Arcturians. An aspect of my avatar is Arcturian, so I can go with that field of energy. In a sense, I would say yes. And if you want to get into the species itself, absolutely, they're positive. They're also very scientific, very advanced, and very they're no nonsense beings. So they're warrior spirits on a lot of levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Dexter's in the house. We've got UFO Gandalf here. Thanks for coming in. Nice to see you. If you guys have any questions for Solaris, let us know. We're just talking about all kinds of stuff, timelines, starseeds, multidimensional bodies. So let's see, DNA activation. You mentioned in your book, I think it was, I saw it somewhere, that you had at one point planned to open a healing center in Boulder. Yeah. Is that something you think you might still do someday?
I started off with that in the 90s called Ascension Point Boulder. I still have the official school, I've got all my seals and everything. And I did do a lot of initiations on people with Ascension Point Boulder. I'm not sure if it's going to be Boulder. It's too saturated. It's changed so much. The field of energy isn't right. So yeah, I would like to do that. I'd like to see multiple healing centers instead of hospitals. I have this big vision. I know most of you do as well. But the idea behind that is to have healing centers with the types of free energy that we know about that can do holographic grid repair like I do naturally, and I'm sure you're capable of. The idea behind that without having to use all the med beds and this and that. So we get back into the timelines of the future and the illusion of, and we start working from there. So I'd like to see that, and maybe we can get that rolling. It doesn't really take that much, just a few people with a big vision,
Would you consider Grand Junction?
Possible. Would you? Are you looking at Grand Junction?
Well, yes, I am. I could see us opening a healing center. That would be awesome.
It's necessary.
Grand Junction. What a perfect name, too.
Yeah, very interesting. I'll have to look into
that. Okay. That would be quite amazing. We're probably going to go check out Colorado a little bit more this summer.
So good. Come visit.
I'll have to let you know. Are you up by Boulder in that area?
Undisclosed location in the mountains.
or Denver somewhere.
I might get some weird visitors. No, yeah, I'll let you know. I wouldn't be down there.
Okay. I know we have to be.
I'm in the mountains,
super big,
high mountain range.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. What else do you want to talk about, Solaris? What do you think is coming? I know, but there's so much we can talk about, and you can just like riff on so many things.
I don't want to. I want everybody to be feeling love and light here. So I bring in the fire and the flames and the storms. So I try not to do that. I apologize. Sometimes it takes a good storm to clear away all the debris, though, doesn't it? And then you get the good stuff coming
absolutely.
in. Right?
Yeah. You have a background in astrology too, as well, don't you?
I do timeline astrology. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit about, I know you just did kind of a little bit about 2022 and 2023, but is there anything specific that you can share about the timeline?
Other than the fact that we're in the wrong space-time configuration and the overlays intersecting, that's the biggest deal that I see for the 2022, 23. The windows for change. In other words, people should really make the jump. And I'm not talking like a jump point in a sense, but the idea behind that would be letting go of anything that's been holding your field. I mean, anything. I don't care if it's a bad relationship, a lifestyle, environmental condition, or where you're living. You've got to move quickly and be in the right place at the right time. That means you might even have to move across the globe. And the only reason I say moving across the globe would be because you want to be in a strategically sound area for energetic assistance when it comes down to off-world intersecting, and also the idea behind you being calibrated for a different field of energy. Remember that it's all about frequency, so you're calibrating for multidimensional space. You want to be in a different field that is more free for your field. There are a lot of places that are a lot less dense, as you probably are aware. So take a good look at that while you're here. And 2022 is definitely don't procrastinate anymore. If you're getting a vibe like you need to go someplace, you need to move.
You said that like today, didn't you? Someone said that today on one of the social media things, and I was like, it really resonated with me because I've been feeling that for several months now. I'm really like caught in between moving and staying. It's a
I'm in the same space. I know the universe will put me in the right place at the right time, whether I like it or not. So, but I'm in that same thing. I've been holding on here, and I have no business being here anymore.
Yeah, I'm in that same space exactly. Like I need to move, but I can't. It's weird. I can't explain.
No, I get it.
Usually, when I'm really clear about going, I just go and I don't look back. You know, it just comes in really clear. So it could be the distortion field you're talking about. Like there's some distortion and confusion in terms of, you know, where we should be or what we should be doing. The information that's coming in is so conflicting. Do you think that if everyone just like hopped onto their soul's journey and their highest timeline and their highest self, and we all kind of were in the best iteration of ourselves, that we could get this distortion back on track, like get our timeline back on track like that fast?
Oh, sure. No, primary timeline is where you want to be. And yes, you can get on the primary timeline just by intent usually. But the idea behind that is also honing into the multidimensional aspects of who you really are and going in with the primary timeline. The template that initiated your timeline here, in other words, there's no such thing as time. It's very nebulous. But you set up a cosmic template. You came into this world with something special, a template of direction and information. And with that, you go into that primary timeline, you access it and bring it here and deploy it. And yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean by staying spiritual. I don't care what you do. You don't have to meditate on a mountain or anything. Just be your cosmic self and you'll find the answers. It'll be synchronicity.
And can we talk about the work that you do a little bit? I know you offer, I believe you still offer personal sessions with people, right?
Yeah, I do. I do remote. Well, since the shutdown, I wasn't really doing anything but just timeline astrology assessments and remote healing. I still do. But yeah, I can do all kinds of things. I prefer doing sessions in person, but as you well know, it's becoming more virtual these days. So,
right. Is your main personal session for healing, or is it reading, or both?
Usually clearing. Believe it or not, people want to be cleared. There's a lot of energetic stuff going on where people want clearings. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of entity release and this and that connected to anything they've been pulling into their field. Also, there's some other things that I do with vision quests, and we do some things like that depending on what they want to do. So they need a walkthrough just to look at their psyche and take a good look and see what's going on in their atmospheric condition. We can do that. Remote healing. I have an Arcturian healing system, a holographic repatterning system, all different types of formulas. And what's interesting is that I was initiated into the traditional healing arts, Reiki, this and that as master teacher and all that. I went to Yusui systems and then advanced into other healings. And then it just takes on its own formula, as you well know. You get into your own signature. And that's pretty much what I do these days. And especially where I come from with types of intelligence interface that I've had, I find that I'm able to see a lot better on a different scale to assess people. So I do that. I took time off. I mean, I didn't touch people for years because of the induction. I wouldn't go near doing a client. I do the astrology, and I didn't want to be, I didn't want anything that could potentially bleed through onto them from me. So I took a good time off from that, but I know all that stuff is blown out. So there's just me as like the ascended avatar, and then them.
Do you work with a particular group of healers or like guides or star beings that come through for you when you're doing healings? Or is it just your own oversoul?
I bring in my aspects of multidimensional higher self, oversoul, superconscious avatar, a lot of celestial tribes connected. I've always had the Arcturian field of energy just because of my own initiations with that. Some Pleiadians in the past. What I have noticed is that a lot of light beings just show up. I don't know who they are, what they are, but they usually show up on behalf of the people that I'm working on, and that has happened quite a bit. So whatever they're usually connected to them, and I invite them to come in to assist if they're in alignment with that. So that's fine.
Great. And so where can people find you to have a session? Jennifer Brooks is asking, how do they contact you?
You can contact me at Night Shadow Anomaly Detectives. Just go over to my website, or you can email me. You can even email me at medusastorm001@gmail.com.
And then you have your other website, which is Solaris BlueRaven.
I do.
Web.com.
They can go in there. They're both, one, I think Night Shadow has a lot more details when it comes down to covert technology, but yeah, they're both similar. So yeah, she can certainly go over there and find me as well.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Wow. We covered so much, and I think it's because
we go fast.
We go so fast. Like I had all this stuff prepared and all these questions for you, and we've already talked about them. And it's
you did great. Awesome.
8:17. Keys to Ascension, how it started, the end game. Initial keys to Ascension came from the cosmic origins of the full light universe. So I love that chapter in your book about the keys to Ascension. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about that. The taste of water would alter before and after the cosmic download. Like that's a really
cosmic
cool
cocktails.
thing.
Those are so fun.
Yeah, cosmic cocktails.
Yeah, I've done those in my own groups for years. And I did one at a workshop out in one of the UFO conferences. But the idea behind that is to alchemically change the frequency of the water. As you probably know, everybody knows water is programmable, contains memory, but you can also program it from starseed consciousness and galactic waves of energy. So, for example, you can take a star system that you're attracted to or have connection to as a starseed and download it into this particular water. So you can taste it before and after, activate the codes within that star system, and it will change the water alchemically, and you drink that and you heal. Now, it sounds really woo-woo, but I'm telling you, it works. I one time, we've done some really phenomenal things with the galactic energies. We also did the blood of Christ, which was really interesting from the Magdalene frequencies and the cosmic energies, and that changed. Now, when they talk about the blood of Christ, the frequency of Christ consciousness, we had the water itself before and after, and it was very light. The first, the before was fine, and then we after I brought in the cosmic Christ frequency, it became thick water and very powerful, and it felt like the law of grace integrating into your body. Now, I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that I had like 5 witnesses for this who were working it, and it does happen alchemically. We can change everything at an alchemical level. Your body's water, as you well know, a great percentage of it, change the field, change the energy, heal the body. So all these things are so significant. And that's just an example. I call them the cosmic cocktails, but I encourage you to do it, have fun, have a party. And I guarantee you now, this is what's weird. You start drinking those things, you'll feel like you're drunk after a while because you get so high off the energy. I'm not kidding. It is not even a psychological thing. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been drinking because you're blissed out, but you're so high on the field because you're bringing in these downloaded energetics. So just a heads up for people who want to try that. It's real fun.
We should do that together online.
Yeah. I would love to.
We should do like 3 recipes and just have everyone gather with a glass of water, and then or three glasses of water, and then we could change the cocktails. That would be really cool.
And it's really easy to do. And like I said, even if you want healing, I mean, that's kind of an easier way also for people to think about how they want to heal their bodies. Just taking the water and programming it and say whatever they need in their body to integrate it in. It doesn't even have to be cosmic in a sense, but yeah, it definitely does. And yeah, I'm happy to do that. Think about what your connections to are on a cosmic level. on your galactic level. And even if it's just creator source and you're a higher self, bring that in. It's a great way to do it.
Right. Absolutely. We can create a cocktail that says like, no COVID is allowed in my field or in my body and in my resonance and anywhere around me. Right.
You've done that before.
Yes, I've done that personally, but how cool would that be to create a cocktail for that and like share it with a bunch of people?
Oh, absolutely. And also remember, it's all psychological. It's all in the head. And a lot of it is. And when you fortify your body on a multidimensional scale and your avatar becomes fully engaged in your biosuit, you're pretty powerful. I mean, it's not like you're not going to catch something, but you're going to be very strong. And I said before, most of this is aerial warfare. Most of it's hitting the energy field first, then causing the weaponization where people are finding weaponized pneumonia, weaponized flu. It's hitting the organs, it's hitting the body. It's also taking the oxygen out of the body, which I find very suspect because radiation will do that and microwave signatures do that. They'll cause radiation, they'll cause the body to feel like it can't breathe. I know how many of you are familiar with that, but it can do that. So just a heads up. Shungite's a good deal. Get some extra shungite around your house as well.
Yes. I just bought a bunch of shungite beads to make. I'm going to start making bracelets with shungite. Nice.
Oh, I have to model off. Wait a second. Here's my mermaid. Here it is. That's it. That's the one. I love it.
Oh, you got the aqua aura. I'm wearing my mermaid tonight too.
I love these. You're just so talented, Sherry. So anyways, buy one.
Thank you.
I was saying you should make these in a necklace though. You don't have the necklace, right?
I plan to start making mala beads, but I just haven't. I made one for myself in this stone actually.
Oh, nice.
Tonight.
If you ever do, I definitely want one. Yeah.
I'll send you a picture of it.
Sure.
It's fun.
They're nice.
It's super beautiful. Light. Yeah.
And you're really so talented. Cool. I really, really appreciate your work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
and beautiful jewelry.
So
she does a beautiful job healing. I've had a session with you in the past. It's been awesome.
Oh, thank you. That's
and
really
believe me,
sweet.
I've told you before, I don't have many people work on me. I'm very weird about that because I'm different. So it's got to be somebody definitely out there.
Well, I'll have to try having a session with you too. That sounds
anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.
And you did an astrology reading for me. That was amazing. A timeline reading.
Right. Yeah.
That was really unique and different and very informative as well.
Oh, good. I'm glad it benefited you.
I loved it. Yeah.
I get good feedback from those.
Yeah. Those are super cool. So you guys have any questions? Let's see. What did you cover besides how you get paid? Joshua. I don't think we talked about that. We covered a lot of stuff. Dr. Emoto proved this about water. Yes, that's right. His book is cool. And Brave Seal, thank you for joining us, likes the cocktail party idea. That sounds brilliant. And so does Lynn. Lynn E.T. also likes the cocktail party idea. Yeah. So we should definitely do that.
It's a great thing.
Awesome. Yeah. So is there anything else that you would like to cover that you're offering or any shows that you're coming up that you're going to be doing soon? I know that some places are still, in quarantine, like here where I live. How is it in Colorado?
Well, I don't really pay attention to what they're doing, to be honest. It's like, I think that for the most part, everybody's masks are off, although they're recommending that if you're fully vaccinated, you keep your mask off, et cetera, that kind of thing. But right now, I think everybody just has their masks off. They're on the honor system, which means everybody's masks are off, in my opinion. So I'm seeing that. But still, everything's strange. I navigate in other worlds. I am discreetly in and out of worlds. I become like the living MIB in a sense of I'm visible, but I'm just kind of in the shadows and the light too.
Are you going to be doing any shows or conferences anytime soon?
I would like to. I haven't had anything lined up. I hope to connect with you again. I hope we all get to see each other again, but I haven't done anything yet. I might do a workshop actually or something where I do my own presentation virtually with my book, Alien Intelligence. So I might be doing that. And then I'm working on a book on time traveler with a co-author, which is like, he's had a lot of health issues. So I don't know if he's going to be able to finish the book. I might have to do it solo, but that's going to be out.
Oh, that's cool. So you have a new book coming out. Is it on, you said on timelines or time travel?
Time travel.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be more expansive. I've touched on time travel before in my books, but this one's going to be a little more detail related and also more philosophical, but also there gives you a lot of information. So if the true time traveler wants to dial in and go someplace, they'll be able to have more tools to do so.
Yeah, you mentioned, I read that in your book today, actually, about time travel. You said something like it was all in your head, like it's all.
Well, you have to calibrate for it. And you also have to be able to dial into the fields and dial into the the access points when it comes down to where they're located. So yeah, a lot of it is. But I'm able to interface into things. Yeah, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
So when you want to time travel, can you share with the audience like how you do it? Like, do you go into meditation and then focus on a time and point, or a point in time, or how do you do it?
I don't usually have to meditate on anything. I just kind of, most of the time I'm reviewing a lot of things I can dial in different timelines and access. Sometimes I'm astral projecting, but that's, to me, that doesn't feel like time travel, but there are other areas where I can look and see. So most of it is just about using my, what I call that internal telescope to just access and hone in on a different timeline and also space-time configuration, because space-time has a lot to do with the timeline itself and the illusion of. So I look at that. But that's what I'm working on. I'm working on some projects connected to, I don't know if I can tell you or not, but it's in my Neon Twilight series on Patreon if people want to follow me over there. I'll give you a hint. It's the Orion Gateway project, but it's not Orion project connected to Dr. Greer. It's a different project. It's my project. So it's a gateway I'm working on right now. So I'll fill you in on that. That's going to be really cool. It's going to be really powerful. Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
That's my dog in the background. What's that?
I saw a cat earlier, but I haven't seen or heard the
Wild
dog.
Kingdom. Okay, good.
Is it a gateway that currently exists here on this planet?
It's not on the planet. It's a gateway that can be opened and accessed. It's a 2 doorway. In other words, there's 2 doors accessing in and accessing out, but it's also something which will allow for a great fleet of beings to connect in, and those who want to leave can leave. Just to give you an idea. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been something that's been kind of, I think they've been trying to keep it sealed. They've been trying to keep it contained, and it's not going to happen anymore. We've had enough. I'm not talking about bad Orion, things and grays and this and that. I'm talking our cosmic ancestors that have been abused over decades and centuries. Excuse me.
So is the other side of that gateway somewhere in the Orion constellation?
It's connected to the Orion constellation. That's why it's the Orion Gateway Project.
Yeah. Okay. And are there benevolent planets there that people may want to go to?
They can go wherever they want because there's a gateway and a jump point that goes in between galactic highways, so you can intersect in a lot of different fields and go into different directions. So yeah, you can traverse the galactic highway through that. Absolutely, you can. You also have to calibrate for it, but then people will be calibrated. This is the whole idea behind them trying to keep our fields in the stasis of control. We can't have that because we have to be traveling, and we're taking our bodies with us. That's the whole idea behind it. DNA activation is changing your molecular structure, your bioelectric suit, so you're able to phase shift, to bilocate, teleport, and go from point A to point B with your body. You're going from one universe to the next. You don't have to physically die. That's not like a big secret, but I guess they want to keep it as a secret. And this is the whole idea behind some of this craziness with the psi virus trying to expedite people's deaths, and the illusion of dying. That's another thing that's really not good, in a sense of them trying to take out so many people so quickly.
That's a really important point, because the illusion of dying is what has everybody in so much fear. So if people knew that, we didn't really die when we die, then there wouldn't be so much fear and anger and hate around this whole pandemic situation. Like the duality and the separation of like people getting angry at each other for not wearing a mask basically boils down to the fear of dying, right? And I understand if you have young kids and you don't want to leave this time and space yet because you have young children, but there's a lot of people who are not in that situation, and they're still spreading a lot of anger and fear and hatred for others who because of this illusion of fear and death.
It's all programming. And also the idea behind them, being socially engineered, but not being connected to spirit, because if they were connected to their spiritual design work, they wouldn't be arguing. There would be, agree to disagree, like adults for a change. Okay. Can everybody act like an adult instead of a 5-year-old? That'd be a great idea, wouldn't it? We have people in Congress that act like they're 4 years old. I mean, come on, what's going on here? So, ambassadors? No, I don't think so. This is what I mean. Their potential is just like, wow, don't get me started with that. But no, I agree with you. And I think that it is a transition from one to the next, but in the illusion of living and dying, we were never supposed to be expired so quickly here. We live to be maybe 100. I mean, people are lucky they get to live a little bit older, but technically, if our light bodies are really aligned and we're in the right space time, we can live on past 1,000 years.
Right. If we weren't bombarded with junk food, fast food.
It's the environment. Yeah, it's like being in a toxic environment. You know that frequency regenerates your body. I mean, you'll look as like 30 years old, maybe, whatever it is you feel you want to look. My point is that it's all about the frequency and navigation and a state of consciousness. And we're in such a polluted world. I mean, it takes like almost a saint to be able to navigate here sometimes. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I say this sometimes to my husband because like we're just bombarded from every angle. Our medical system is corrupt. Our food system is corrupt. Our education system is corrupt. And what else? Air, water. I mean, if you think about it, like imagine if every system was designed for our highest and best good.
Exactly.
Those pharmaceutical commercials where the guy runs on at the end and he's like, you may die from liver failure, heart failure, and like, it's like a list this long,
Right.
What if every medicine was designed for our highest and best good and there were no side effects?
Painting the scene. Well, think about the injection itself. I mean, this whole idea, we have frequency that can heal and cure, whether they want to use the word cure, viruses. We know how to deactivate viruses or activate them through frequency. I've mentioned this before. I put people in who had AIDS, who were dying from AIDS. This was back in the 90s. This guy was really sick, came to me for healing, and I put him in remission just by working on him. I'm just saying, frequency heals. And the idea behind that is you can do anything if your mind is set in the right place and your body and you're open to receiving healing. Absolutely. So why can't we do things through frequency where we can regenerate, heal the world? Why do we have illnesses at all? Why are they even fighting and squabbling over an injection when we have a frequency that we could use to heal the body? If this is a big deal, let's boost the immune system up with a frequency. It's just unbelievable. Well, we come from a different space-time, and this is why we have these conversations. It's kind of like Bones coming back from Star Trek when he looks back, what are you doing? And they're primordial surgery on them, and he's like, what are you doing? It's the same thing. I mean, I look at it like, I was like, what are they doing here? I can't relate to the people on this world sometimes. I really can't.
I know. Well, when you really start to look at each system and how it's really designed for failure, like we're set up to fail because a medicine has side effects or because school is taught in a way where you're either excellent or you're going to fail,
and half the time it's not good. The data's off.
Yeah, right. And half the time the information's off. But I mean, just every single system could be redesigned for our highest and best good. And we could live on a positive planet and we could live to be 1,000 years old. And unfortunately, that's not the planet and the timeline we're on right now. But I think that we have to all hold that vision, hold that positive image, and manifest it for for future generations.
Right. Well, one thing to keep in mind, remember that it's all multidimensional, multiversal, holographic. So we're not just talking about a linear world. This is a multidimensional world. That's what I mean. That's where we get the jump points, the access points, the ley lines, and everything that intersects in an off-world intelligence network on that level. So we are moving into a different configuration, which is why they're terrified. Everything's breaking away. We can't survive like this anymore, as you well know. It's not about the 2030 agenda where we need to do this, and save the world. I've said it a billion times over. This world is self-generating. It knows how to repair itself. It's very intelligent, just like our bodies know how to heal. So we don't need to worry about that. We do need to focus on as our cosmic heritage, downloading that energy and integrating it into and onto and beyond this timeline. And you'll find that we'll be bringing that in here and onto this world. And as we do that, we change the configuration.
Absolutely. Do you have memory recall of visiting other timelines and dimensions where things are more love and light?
I've seen things off planet. I've written about in 1 Million Miles to Midnight, which is connected to light beings and a very peaceful environment, which is by the water. For me, I've always loved the sea, but it's not the sea of this world. It's the ocean off planet. And I know I'm supposed to go home. I mean, I've never been right since the induction, and I just feel like I have to go home. I have to go home. There is no home here for me. It's not here. It's off planet. I know that. To give you an idea, but I've also, the light beings and the support systems that I'm familiar with, yes. Not a whole lot in a sense, but enough where I've remote viewed and seen different species and beings, and I know that they're there, and I know that they're supportive. I also know that we're co-creators. So we're not groveling to creation. We're not saying, can you accept us? No, we step up into the galactic neighborhood. We're part of that. We're an extension of creation. It's a big deal. I say that a lot, but it is, because most people don't even think they're good enough to be part of creation. Like, that's where you came from. I mean, why don't you just shine bright and stop punishing yourselves? I think people are very hard on themselves because of the social pressure and the social engineering that's going on. If they could just stop that, and this is where you start healing the body, as you well know, but it's body, mind, and spirit, where the soul spirit is integrated and expanded outward, and then you start to progress and evolve.
You hear me?
Yeah. What?
We had that same weird sound thing happen where it goes.
I don't know what that is. I'm not
really
getting it on my end.
It's always when you're saying something really good.
Oh man.
Oh,
Well,
my
anyways.
goodness.
Well, thanks.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that was beautiful.
Well, thank you. I think it'll come out okay. I don't know if anybody had that in the chat room.
Are you guys hearing that? Can you let me know in the chat room if you're hearing that
maybe
too, or
you.
Maybe it's just me.
Maybe it's
I've never had that with anyone. It's really weird.
I've had all kinds of anomalies. Well, my antennas are hidden. I don't know what the problem is. I have to have a sense of humor.
Are you a big astral traveler? Like at night, do you do a lot of lucid dreaming? And do you remember your dreams?
I used to astral project a lot in the 80s. I was always out of my body. And as I look back on those projections, I realized they were military abductions. To be honest with you, there's some weird stuff that I had no idea. I thought they were just kind of a weird experience. But now I'm looking back because I didn't know what a MyLab was until later, like, about 20 years ago. So those seem to be kind of perking up in a sense. I have astral projected a few times here and there. Sometimes I don't even try and I'm out of body, and that's been going on. But they're okay. I see things that are alternate realities. They're like alternate areas where cities are more advanced and evolved and there's less people, and it's real time. I mean, there's like, I'm in another field. So I find that to be beneficial on a very high level, and I feel very comfortable with that. So this for me.
I was just wondering, because I do a lot of astral travel at night. I wake up exhausted most mornings. So I was just, but I don't remember a lot of the stuff that I'm dealing with because I don't know. I feel like it would be too intense to remember a lot of it. So
are you out of body? So you know you're out of body? Are you aware you're floating, or you're navigating in your spirit body?
Occasionally I'll have that like awareness. But I just wake up feeling like, oh my gosh, I just went to battle, or, oh my gosh, I just did this huge thing,
That sounds like one of your avatars is very, very active. It may not even be an aspect of you in the physical, but maybe an avatar aspect, not even astral. I'm thinking beyond astral when you're mentioning that, because when I astral project, I'm in control. I'm like going through walls and I'm floating and going here and there, and I'm navigating in my astral body. But one thing I can tell you, last time
that's astral projection. I'm talking about dreams time.
No, I don't dream. I never dream.
You don't dream?
I'll tell you what, not anymore. After the interface with the technology, I do get, and I am able to access, and I don't even like it, digital streaming, and I have to close it down because it's I'm so wired to interface. I get all kinds. I'm not talking television. I'm talking like imagery, like digitized worlds, and that can happen because that's the artificial intelligence. But that's why I like the astral projection, because it's different. But what I will tell you is that I've had things following me, or there's an escort these days when I'm astral projecting.
A good one, like someone protecting you.
Very polite. I don't know what it is. It hasn't really identified itself, but it's very polite. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Here's my kitty.
Use a little more protection. There's like a white dot back there. I'm wondering, like, is that her cat light?
Oh, I have a black cat back there. I've got 3 cats and a dog. So pick one.
So I have a question about MyLab abductions. Do most people who are experiencing that have memory recall of that, or do you think most of it is, a screen memory is implanted and they just have no idea it's happening?
I think there's a screen memory, but at the cellular level, they do remember. The soul spirit records everything. The soul has a good recording cell, so to speak. So it will record the event. And that's where you have bleed through realities, and a lot of, all of a sudden they have kind of a distortion in their field. They may feel like they have a memory surge and something is not right. And all of a sudden they get these things where they're activating memories and codes of information based on things that were probably sanitized. So it does happen. There's no such thing as really covering anything up. They're creating the screen memories, but eventually those get kind of taken out and taken away. When they do, there's like a real a huge awakening, but it's also stressful because they don't understand. They may be having like a mental breakdown or something because a lot's happening simultaneously, but it does happen.
Yeah. So if someone was in that experience, they would have some memory at some point.
Sure.
Is what you're saying.
You can go into many layers and peel away the screens, and eventually there should be something there that you can access, some tangible information. And even through a space of trauma, they still store, like I said, the oversoul understands everything. It doesn't miss a beat. So even if you at the mental, spiritual, physical level, emotional level can't remember, there's an aspect of you that does.
Interesting. What do you think about readers who maybe implant that information in a reading for someone?
I try not to tell people. I don't plant seeds, but I see people doing that. And you have to be really careful. Don't plant the seeds. Don't suggest things, especially if you're doing regression work or something like that. You don't want you want to be there as like a sacred witness or even a facilitator, but you don't want to be somebody who's in there trying to probe and try to plant things. So I would say steer away from that if you're one of those people that does that. Be very, very careful. You don't want to give them any more information. You want to kind of keep it open and nebulous and let the energy flow.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think that in a situation like that, it might be like not for their highest and best good, and maybe it's what am I trying to say? I'm trying to be politically correct here. They're trying to, implant ideas, and maybe it's not like of the highest integrity. I'll say that.
Right. Well, there's a lot of what I call disinformation. Like I said, you have to be really careful. I don't care who it is. Be careful of the field itself. There's so many people out there. Some are good, some are not so good. Some are jumping on the bandwagon and they don't know what they're doing. And if you've been around, if you're trying to probe somebody who's been through a program, be careful. Then you do not know what you're going to activate or deactivate for that matter.
Right.
It's very dangerous.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
If you want an altar activated and all of a sudden the person's a mess, I mean, my goodness. And I hate to say, but it's true. And this is why I've always been leery of people. You have to really trust them. You have to understand and go to very deep levels of who they are to really access the information. Yeah.
Yeah, Joshua, we already covered this, but Solaris does talk really fast. That's just how she is.
You need to read my books.
Drug free, and caffeine-free.
I don't do drugs or alcohol, bud. I do like coffee. But my point is that I've been interfacing machines for over 20 years. So yeah, it happens. People say that. It's really funny. I've slowed down over the years. I've literally slowed down. So, and
is that because the information comes in so fast that you've learned to process really fast and also communicate really quickly?
It's being rewired into the interface, live feed real time with the communication system, which is artificial intelligence, plus the handler. And a lot of the time, people don't realize that every time I was communicating, the interface, whether it was live feed real time, would argue and try to rewrite what I had to say, and I would argue back. And so that's where the speeding up came in. I was pushing back, and this is it happens. You start learning to calibrate, and I've calibrated quite well. I pushed him out. Okay,
it's quite amazing.
Thank you.
It's quite amazing that one could even speak at that speed.
It's really not that fast to me. I feel like I'm speaking slow, but that's my dog coughing in the background. You okay, buddy? He's a senior, as everybody know.
Okay. Well, awesome. So this has been an incredible conversation. We've covered so many different topics for everyone watching and in the chat room. If you haven't, please like this video and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. If you have any questions for Solaris, this would be a great time to ask your questions as we're wrapping up. We've only got about 15 minutes left in the show. And I do want to get your questions in there because I know you have a lot of important questions. So please let us know if you have any. And if you guys want to find Solaris, her website is nightshadowanomalydetectives.com. And also solarisblueraven.webs.com. Is it still .webs.com or is it just .com? Yeah.
It's all getting converted. Night Shadow is the main one. And then the other one, I don't know what I'm going to do with that one. It's kind of in limbo right now. But yeah, they can access it. So they'll find it.
Okay, cool. And then you're also on Facebook and Twitter. And
when they don't take me off of Twitter. You can find me best on Facebook. And then I am on MeWe. Yeah, I'm over there. You can find me on MeWe.
Okay. Yeah. So if you guys want to get a reading, or if you want to have a timeline reading, I would definitely, contact Solaris, because I'm sure her schedule gets booked up really fast. And also, you're a host of 2 radio shows. One is called, I wrote it down here, which I've been on, so I should have these memorized. Hyperspace, which is part of the KCOR digital radio network. And also Raven Star's Witching Hour on Saturday night, which you produce yourself. That one's still going, right?
It's still going. That was my original show, my baby. So I keep it going because of that.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what made you start that show? Like, what was your main goal? Like, was it for getting the truth out there?
Yeah, it was for that, because I was so sick and tired of lying. I mean, the lies out there. I was just like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. I saw everybody lie under oath. I got fed up, and so I decided I wanted to have a show where I could communicate the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy being over there. I mean, I've been over there for a long time, so it's been really good. So yeah, and also taking the helm back and speaking. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How can people listen to that show? Like, where do they go to listen?
Oh, they can go over to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And my show is Raven Star's Witching Hour on Saturday night, 12 midnight Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific. They can go ahead and tune in. And then, of course, the hyperspace at Kisawara. Yeah. Where'd you go, Missy? Did she just fall off, you guys? Where'd she go? Oh, I don't know where she is, everybody. There you are.
So weird.
What is going on? You just want to put me on the spot? I don't need a close up at my age. I'm kidding.
You do the show all by yourself.
Oh, sure.
That was so weird. I just blipped out.
It's an operator error.
Everyone.
It wasn't mine. She's the operator.
I wasn't even doing anything. I was just looking over here. That was weird.
How funny. We've had little interesting effects here tonight. It's been wonderful. Well, thank you for this interview, though. It's been fun. And you're wonderful.
Good.
Sheree, it's really nice to hear.
Thank you so much. You're such a great interviewer too, Solaris. I have to admit, it was a little intimidating to interview you, but
you're fine.
I love your energy, and we always have such a great conversation.
We get along. Yeah, there's good chemistry. You should be back on my show anytime you want to be back. Let me know. Love to have you back.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was so much fun being on your show.
Oh, you're wonderful.
Would love to come on.
Yeah, got a lot to offer.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. So everyone, any questions, last minute questions before we wrap up this show tonight?
You're just hassling me about my fast talk. Hey, you too this fast.
Can you say supercalifragilistic?
I probably can. Spalladocious? Can't even spell it right. What are you doing in there, Joshua? Where to spell? I'm just teasing.
I know, right?
But you know,
Chad,
when the Neuralink comes along, then you guys will have fun with that, right? Then you get to talk fast. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's where Musk is heading. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I just heard something about Bitcoin being kind of like, now they're going to have a Bitcoin that you can implant, or I shouldn't say Bitcoin, I should say cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency that you can implant in your body. So you can just go like this at the checkout, and it's.
They already have stuff like that. Oh, whatever. It's all weird. Everybody thinks it's the mark of the beast. I'm telling you, it's just technology. It is what it is. You don't need all that. We'll see where we're heading. Like I said, it's been interesting. We're like a collision course between like an inverted timeline where everybody's like cavemen versus the Jetsons. So we'll see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the mark of the beast is? Do you think it's like nanotechnology in a vaccine, or do you think it's like an intentional chip implant, or?
Well, it's not my area because I'm not into that religious mode. But I will say one thing: in my opinion, I think it has a lot to do with the weaponization. The beast is the weaponization of the technology. In my opinion, I think that it's not a person per se; it's an event. It's something that they're distributing, and that would be the weaponization of what we're discussing tonight, mainly. If you want to call it the mark of that. If anything that stops your evolution and progression of spirit is definitely not your ally. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah. So anything that is a negative intention to slow humanity's evolution. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need it. We don't need to have that. It's not necessary. And there's none of this, we have to be the ones to bottleneck everything. That's not true. The universe wants us up to speed. This is foolishness.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much, Solaris. I don't see any last minute dying questions coming in. So Divine Fractal says, thank you. Fun interview. Solaris always has great information. I couldn't agree more. And Chadwick, thank you so much for joining on Facebook. I'm sorry you came in late, but you can always watch the replay. That would be awesome.
And you can play it at half speed, right?
Then I'll be like in slow-mo.
One of these days I'm going to talk really slow and they're going to say, what is wrong? Can't you speed up?
Well, you guys should feel really balanced because I speak slowly and she speaks fast.
That's right. So that's why you speak so slow that I go into another orbit. My attention goes elsewhere. I'm so sorry. I never have to ask people to repeat the question. So my apologies on that one. I'm going. My mind works so fast. I'm like, okay. But that's good.
Oh, my mind, like I process like 3 questions at once in my mind, and then I'm like, okay, wait, I have to pick one.
Pick one, yes.
Yeah.
You did great. I've really had a fun time with you, though. Thank you. It's been wonderful. And thanks everybody in chat. I hope you enjoyed the information. I hope it helps you some way.
Yes, I hope you guys all had fun. I'm going to paste your website right here in the chat room so everybody can go check out your websites and connect with you.
No.
And we definitely got to do the cosmic cocktail idea.
Oh, sure. Yeah, anytime.
So fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll set it up.
Yeah.
Decide what star systems you want, and we'll figure it out and do it. Mm-hmm. You'll notice it. I guarantee you.
We'll do some healings for sure.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, be a nice little group session there.
Yeah. So if you guys want a cosmic cocktail healing with just water, put your comments in the chat.
Then you all start talking fast, right? Exactly. No, they'll probably feel really kind of light and heavy. Not heavy, light and I don't want to say the word. Peaceful is the word that's coming through, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everyone
blissful.
Feel peaceful.
That's the word.
Blissful. There you go. Connect to source. Good. Feel your bliss.
I like bliss. I have not seen a lot of bliss this past year, so bliss is good.
Oh, right. Ditto.
Yeah,
Brave Seal says, I'm game. He says he's game.
Cool. Excellent.
Awesome.
It's fun. We'll have a good time.
Yes, we will. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here. Once again, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and like this video if you enjoyed yourself tonight. And please also go over and check us out on Instagram, Telegram, and Facebook, where we have the Ascension sessions, and also MeWe, if you're on MeWe. For all of you anti-Facebook people, no offense. I totally get it. They're always watching, right? So thank you all. Thanks for being here, Gandalf, UFO Gandalf, also known as Dexter. We love your energy all the way from Australia.
All right.
We also had New Zealand in the house tonight, so that was pretty cool. So thank you guys for watching. And Solaris, if you can just hang on with me for 1 second and we'll chat in the green room.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Please go check out Solaris's website. I put them in the chat down there so you can go. Okay. Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.